Hey guys, welcome once again to Money Talks. And in today's video, just as promised, we're going to talk about for sale by owner deals. Now, in this video, I am sorry that is leaning more towards the bad things that happen on these kinds of deals. I promise you there's good things because everything that you do in life has its pros and cons. This video it's more directed towards the cons because of personal experiences that I've had and multiple clients and people that I've talked to that are now in a deal that they cannot get out of and is definitely something that would have not happened if you had worked with an agent, which that's another reason of the prior video of why you should work with an agent. But nevertheless, I'm going to tell you a story of something that happened to person ABC. I've met him and we're talking about real estate. And then it happened to be that I said, hey, I do real estate. That I'm licensed to sell real estate in Texas. And he was like, oh my God, would you mind taking a look at something that we bought? And I was like, yeah, perfectly, not a problem. So to make the long story short, because I'm not going to go into really, really much details because I don't want their story to be out, right? But we're going to talk a little bit of what happened. They bought directly their house from an owner that wanted to get out, right? There was no agent involved. Obviously, it's a for sale by owner. They walked in, the house was furnished, everything was good. They walked it like two or three times. And then after that, they agreed upon the price and they said, we're doing it. They got their own personal loan. Whatever they did, I didn't ask that actually, now that I remember. I don't know if they paid cash or they went through a loan. I'm assuming if they went through, we're not gonna get into details. I don't know what happened in the financing. I just know they bought the property. And after 2 or 3 months living in there, they noticed that the house had some cracks and some corners, and they became a little bit worried about those cracks. So they reached out to a an inspector. Sorry, I blanked out. They reached out to an inspector and they were like, "Hey, we just wanted to make sure, this house is, we see these things here. Would you mind taking a look and seeing what's wrong with it, right?" Well, if you've been in real estate long enough, you know that any crack in any of the walls that looks small or that it's big, more than likely, depending on where it is, right? But more than likely means that there is some issues with the foundation. To make the long story short, that inspector said you have a little bit of a problem of the foundation that you kind of want to address. They ended up paying $25,000 to fix up that foundation. Now, let's talk why this would have not happened had you had a realtor with you. In the state of Texas, when you're selling real estate, you have to have something called a seller's disclosure. In the seller's disclosure, obviously, it's to the best of your knowledge. If you don't know something, you're not going to put yes or no. You're going to put unknown. So maybe, and just maybe, if this was a transaction that an agent was doing, they would ask for a seller's disclosure. Now, this person again, it's a third party, well, not a third party. It's a seller that doesn't want to use a real estate agent, right? So, if I would have been the agent on that side of the buyer, I would have said, okay, you don't have a seller's disclosure, completely understandable, but we want to be able to do an inspection before we even shoot you an offer because we want to know what's going on with the house. That's what I would have done. Now, no realtor was involved. So, because this is a for sale by owner deal, Texas, all these things that you have to do by the state of Texas, they don't really happen, being completely honest with you. So that was a big headache for those buyers, and unfortunately, they had to eat up the cost because there's nothing you could do at that point anymore. So with that anecdote happen, I want to now dive into the reason why for sale by owner deals really have some things going bad. Anyways, again, there's good things too, but we can talk about those in a separate video. Today, we're addressing the things that have gone wrong. So, one of the things that I've seen it's the disclosure disaster. I mean, In Texas, and actually most of the states, but since we're in Texas, sellers are legally required to disclose any known issues with their property. Known issues, obviously. If they don't know about something, they're not going to disclose what they don't know, right? But anything that they are aware, they have to disclose it. If not, you can get really prepared to get sued. But don't sue me, bro. This is not legal advice. I'm just saying one of the things that happened. Consult with a lawyer before that. But anyways, so foundation problems, roof leaking, maybe past floodings, electrical issues, mold, like all these things that you know because you've seen it and because you live in the property, you are supposed to disclose it. But here's the problem: when you're doing a for sale by owner, these private sellers more than often don't know the rules. Or maybe they do, but they conveniently skip those details. When you buy without a realtor, that's one of the things that could happen. You know, you don't know exactly what you're buying. You're not protecting yourself from potential disaster once they move out and they take all their stuff, and then you start seeing, oh my God, there's a cockroach infection in here. There's rats living on the roof. There is leakages happening all over the place. And now, guess who's the one responsible for it? You, the buyer. Because a for sale by owner typically it's taken as a as is transaction. Like you are essentially buying something the way it is at the price that you both agree. If you didn't negotiate it, that's on you. But that's why a realtor is there for, to negotiate all these things and make sure that you are left with a property that is in standards for whatever type of loan you're getting, FHA, conventional, whatever the case may be. Um, but we're not going to talk about all those things. We're here to talk about for sale by owners. Um, so with that being said, I've seen that happen in my personal experience and in some other stories that I know from other people. That obviously we can talk about them, but it is gonna make this video a 30 minute to an hour video long. Because I've seen buyers that in the outside it looks beautiful, it looks amazing, but once like all the stuff that like covers it up, and I say cover up because that's really what like furniture does. They cover up the shell of the home. Then you find what the major damages are. Like now you're like, oh my God, there's a big water stain in there. Is there like a big leakage? And then you realize that one of the pipes burst, and then that we don't want to talk about all that, but yeah, that came out from experience. So that is the number one reason for me that for sale by owners are really a nightmare for me. Um, Reason number two for me would be the pricing traps and also appraisal nightmares. So the thing with pricing, again, we discussed this last time. When it comes to pricing, most for sale by owners either super highly price them or super lowly price them. But if there's someone that kind of knows what they're doing, that could also be an issue. And we're going to talk about this more in detail for another story that I have to tell you all. So I hope you're ready. This is something that happened before we bought the house in which we currently live on, but you're gonna see a lot of these posts everywhere. And well, when I say everywhere, I truly don't mean everywhere. It's mostly on Facebook Marketplace. You're gonna see this house that says first time home buyers, everyone qualifies, blah 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 here and there. Like they have some really good way of attracting your eyesight. And they'll tell you like, oh yeah, the way that we work, it's the house is priced at, let's say, $300,000, but you can't pay it full. You're gonna have to finance through us. It's owner financed, so you're gonna pay us $30,000 down. If you pay $30,000 down, it's all yours, and then you're gonna be paying us. And it's an example, right? Because my math ain't mathing right now, and I'm not gonna do the whole math just for this example. Also, I don't remember the exact numbers that we were offered when we saw that house. But you're gonna pay us $3,000 every month for the next 30 years. Again, if this is too much, I'm sorry. I don't remember the numbers. And there is a prepayment penalty. You cannot pay it or refinance it in the next 10 years. Why is this a thing? Well, the reason why this is a thing, it's because once you pay those 10 years, their break even on the house, it's already done. They want to make sure, whoever's selling the house, they want to make sure that their break even, it's already met. If you keep the house for whatever term they're doing, 20, 15, 30 years, then they're going to profit quite substantially. I can't talk today. Quite substantially from you, because all that money extra, it's just pure profit. They already broke even. There's a reason why they don't want you to refinance. There's a reason why, if you want to buy the house, you have to finance through an owner finance through them, because they're ensuring that they're going to get money coming every single month out of you. And guess what? That contract states you miss one, well, every contract is different. The one that I saw said you miss one single month, we'll repo the house out of you. 1 month. I mean, I'm not encouraging this by no means whatsoever, right? And again, don't sue me, bro. This is not legal advice. But if you ever get late on your payments in your house, there's a whole eviction process that comes before you even get kicked out of the home. Like, if rules are meant to be followed, I mean, you're supposed to pay every month, right? But you went through hardship, whatever the case may be, and you get a little bit late. Let's say you pay 45 days before your payments due. Then you go back into normal standing, which you have to make a payment in the next 15 days. So that's a whole different issue, right? But you go back into normal standing. In these kinds of deals, at least the one I saw, 1 month, and then they get to take the home out of you, and then they get to do the cycle all over again. That is a nightmare. Anyways, um, appraisal is always something really hard too, but we're not gonna get into that topic. But I think it's a nightmare because, again, it could be either overpriced or it could be underpriced. Sometimes it's not really a bad thing if it's underpriced, because you can appraise it at a higher price and buy it. Um, but it, pricing traps and appraisal nightmares are just horrible. So these kinds of things just mean that you can easily overpay. And if the appraisal comes low, now the lender can't cover the whole thing, so you have to pay that on top. So now you're scrambling around just to pay the difference and to be able to complete this transaction. So I think it's just way too much for not a lot of benefit. The number three reason why, for me, for sale by owners are also a big nightmare. It's the contract and the paperwork mistakes. So when it comes out to these, they're typically homemade agreements with a lot of misprotections. And let me tell you something, when contracts are written, they always benefit one side. Now, obviously, again, I'm not going to get into legal things because I don't want to do that. But on the actual contracts that we use, because of the Texas real estate contracts, they have details, they have protections, they have contingencies, they have timelines, they have disclosures, they have default remedies. If something were to happen, it protects both the buyer and the seller. When it comes out to a for sale by owner, it's more than likely that the seller is going to be the one protected and the buyer is not. If you remember the example that I had of that one property that we saw, 1 month, and you take the home away from me, that's not a lot of security for me, the buyer, but that's a lot of security for you, the seller. So without structure or without an actual document contract that really states the way a transaction should run, buyers can lose deposits, can lose earnest money, can miss inspections, can also be stuck in a one-side agreement in which the seller gets all the benefits but the buyer gets none. So because there's not a lot of legal binding documents that are well structured, it's a big nightmare for me. And well, going or continuing further with this, reason number four will be there's no inspection guidance. When you're working with a realtor, you just don't get just an inspection. We recommend people that we trust because we've worked before with them and they uncover problems that no other person has done. Like I can tell you, like I know of like 10 people that I can reach out if I ever need a inspection. So it's really easy when you're working with a realtor to have the contacts in order to facilitate the things that need to happen in a transaction to make it easier and more responsibly for you. And a for sale by owner, buyers typically just get the first one, the cheapest one. They don't really care. They just want an inspection. And some of those times, if there's even an inspection, they just say the house is good. Like, you're good to go. So I wouldn't trust that. Once you buy it, once you live on it, it's when you start realizing, oh my God, the sewer has issues. It smells so horrible in here. This doesn't go down. The electrical, like you turn this thing off and then the coffee maker goes on. Like, it's just an example. Also, outdating wiring, or maybe a power box that is not in what is it called? Like, that is not current. There's a lot of bad things, but anyways, inspection guidance, a big thing for me of why they're a nightmare. And I would say, I could probably take two or three more. Negotiations. Typically, for sale by owners is like, hey, that's my price. That's it. Like, I'm not negotiating. Oh, you found that? Well, too bad. I'm selling it that way. So you don't really have a negotiation strategy when it comes. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there is some people that are like, okay, well, I know there's damages in here, so it's okay. Instead of taking 100,000, we'll do 90,000. Like, there's good people on that, but for the experiences that I've had, most of these for sale by owners, they're really hostile. But again, that's my experience. That's why I don't suggest them. But trust me, all real estate professionals have at least once a year, and maybe that's very little, more than once a year, experience for sale by owner there. But that's the nature of business. What else can I think? What else can I think? Reason number 6. I believe maybe I skipped a number, but reason number 6: legal liability and hidden costs. When there is no realtor involved, there's also no liability safety net. Like, there's nothing. If something goes wrong, there's undisclosed defects, title problems, maybe some boundary disputes. You have no broker. You have no compliance oversight. You have no one that's guiding you. Like, you have nothing. It's all on you. Like, as a realtor, we know, or or not we, but when it comes to lenders, they kind of give you a guideline. You need a new survey because that one's 30 years old. We're not going to take that one. And maybe your neighbor now has, I don't know, 1 square foot more inside of your house than it should, or whatever the case may be. Um, so another thing that it's a little bit more of a calmness to the storm is that realtors also carry errors and admission insurance. So if you make a mistake, an honest mistake, you're covered. But when it comes out to for sale by owners, you're on your own. Like, it sounds terrible to say this, but you're really on your own. Like, good luck to you, my friend. Like, you bought it. It's all yours. Within all the problems, with it, all the things that it comes out to the great thing of ownership. But anyways, what else? I mean, I guess we talked about title, so I guess that would be my reason number 7, title. There's a lot of things that could happen with title, just as I said at the beginning with, was it at the beginning? I think it was at the beginning, the story from, no, was it at the beginning? Maybe that was the older video, I already forgot. But if you guys remember the story of the one person that I went to see their for sale by owner, they wanted 150,000 for it. It was not livable. They weren't the actual owner; it was the father. So I knew there was going to be title issues. And for sale by owners, there's another thing that it's really important. It's you can't. Um, Sorry, I blanked out. There's things in for sale by owners and in title, like for example, liens. Um, if you find out after you close and now you're the new owner for that house, you are responsible for those liens attached to that house. Because here's the thing, when you have a lien, like a contractor lien, what is it called? I forgot the actual name. The mechanic's lien. When you have a mechanic lien, that is tied up to a specific property, not to a specific person. So what happens is you just bought that property for sale by owner. Now you're the new owner of a fresh debt that is not yours. When it comes up to having a realtor, we always want to make sure that title is clean. So we want to make sure that we do our due diligence before the new owner takes over. So that is one of the things that for me it's you're putting too much risk in very little reward. Again, there is rewards. I'm not gonna say no to it. I myself had bought my house with a for sale by owner, so not a lot of things are bad, but trust me, I've lived some things that I'm like, oh, not ever again. Um, and here's the reality: almost 90% of those for sale by owners eventually involve a realtor anyway. Either because it gets too complicated, the paperwork gets too messy, buyers start feeling uneasy, they can't sell the house, people get stressed of being showing it way too much. So why not do it from the get-go instead of being waiting and waiting and waiting and you do everything yourself. But well, I guess this is not the type of video to talk about it. That would be if I talk to someone that is selling their house by themselves. But um, I think those are all the reasons that I have so far. If I can think of some more, I'll do another video for this. But it's super important that whenever you're doing anything that it comes up to real estate, you're really guided by a realtor, a trusted realtor, not just anyone that you can just find off of any page or whatever, like someone you do trust. And the first conversation is not like, hey, let's go see this house. Like, really take them out for a coffee and say, hey, you know what? I've been looking into this property itself, blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts? Tell me more about this neighborhood. Get more information from that person. And eventually, then you do a buyer's representation. Then you do see all these things. Then you have them negotiate on your behalf. But always think about for sale by owners as a good way of seeing what's available in a neighborhood, but don't directly think that's the holy grail of deals, because most of the times you're gonna find yourself with not a great deal. But again, I hope you enjoy this video. I will probably do a video with the good things about a for sale by owner, because there is good things. I'm not gonna say everything's terrible, and I'm not gonna persuade anyone away from not attempting to find all these deals. There's great things to happen, and most of them are related with investments. But that again, that's gonna be a separate video. Thank you for coming back to Money Talks, and we'll see you in our next video.